Hey, what is up everybody, Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be going over all the debuffs that are actually inside of this little game mode here, in which a lot of you guys seem like you needed a little bit of this, because I'm not gonna lie, I've been getting a couple comments where y'all don't really understand exactly what translating is, and I will agree with you, it's kind of hard to figure out when, of course, the translator is currently down for TW, and that's where a lot of us are playing. So we're going to be going over at least these, so if you guys are interested in stuff like this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment down below anything that you freaking like. It helps out the channel so much more than you guys really think, so please do all three. It helps us out a lot. But I'm going to go ahead and break this down. So immediately, just to let you guys know, the first 10 rows or columns here, which are all of these here, are all part of the actual boss's debuff. So this is stuff that you're going to be actually, or at least buffs, this is stuff that you're going to be adding onto the boss to make the boss even more so harder. Of course, this is not nerfing your team, this is pretty much just making that boss him. Okay, these first 10 rows are all things that can actually make the boss even more difficult than normal. The highest one, of course, is meaning the lowest buff that the boss is going to get. Middle one is more like a middle ground buff that the boss is going to get, and of course the red means the big boy buff that the boss is actually going to get. All of these are something different, and some of these are actually even for specific parts of the boss or specific mobs of this said thing boss that can make the boss even harder. So for example, I don't actually have the translations just right here for the rough translations, but with this one here, on the first one being this one, it is a 120% field volume increase that one of the mobs can actually put on all of them. This allows them to have a way bigger shield, of course, making them a lot more tankier. The second one right here allows them to actually have a final attack percentage of 60%. So they're able to tank at least 60% of that final attack, which is always going to make them a little bit more tanky as well. And that is also kind of something annoying to deal with. The third one immediately here is actually toughening these guys up, and that is giving them a 100% toughen up right here. And it's quite a little bit of a nuisance to kind of deal with, because go ahead and take a look at that, in which I'm trying to make sure I have this correct right here. Should be this one. Yes. The 100% one is pretty much making them a lot more tankier, where they can take 100% more damage, of course, and pretty much look at you and not take anything whatsoever for the boss. Just more tankiness, to be honest. The next one immediately here, looking like this one, is actually allowing them to be able to deal some damage back to you, or at least reflect said damage here, which is only a good amount of 20%. At least at the final one. If of course you did this at any other certain point here, it goes from 5%, 12.5% to 20%, which is always kind of annoying, but all in all, that is what we're working with. Now for this one is specifically for one of the actual mobs here, which allows them, the damage taken is actually increased by a 50%. They're actually able to inflict a damage taken by 50%, which is kind of a nuisance to deal with, but all in all shouldn't be all too bad. You of course can kind of deal with this depending on how your account is looking. It actually starts at least 10%, going to 25%, up to 50%. Already a very annoying task to do, but once again, another buff. Now this one right here is something a little bit different. This one actually allows them to have something else on them that can last for 2 whole turns. I could not actually figure out exactly what it was, though it is something that allows them to pretty much absorb. So when they have that little shield on that allows them to absorb damage, they can heal themselves, or at least absorb that said damage for 2 whole turns, which is fairly annoying to do. Put this on at your own, of course, discretion, but it's only for 2 whole turns, so you could be very well fine. Now the third one immediately here is somewhat of a timer. Pretty much whenever they do put on this shield, here is the timer that this could be suitable for them to actually go ahead and absorb certain things as well, and that is going to be for at least a certain amount of time. Now it's not really anything too crazy on time. It doesn't look like that it actually changes too much here, but just keep in mind of that. The next one is another stinking thing here, which is going to be the revival kind of. I think you can call it pretty much a revival. When you get them so low, it's about 2 of the characters will actually regain some of their health, or at least regen some of their health when they're pretty much on death's door, and they're able to actually have a decent bit of health back. It's kind of annoying to deal with, but only 2 of them are able to do this, so of course they will regen off of that. Now, after those 10 rows are done, so let's go ahead and count this up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then these 2 of course are part of it, 9, 10. These are actually helping them deal more damage and also tank more hits here, so 9, 10 as well. We didn't have our debuffs, so from here all the way to the back are all debuffs for us. So this is where I'm going to have a timestamp. These are debuffs for our character. So with this in mind, from left to right, this is what you guys want to know. Attack is down by 10%. Attack can get down to 25%, can get down to 50%. Defense is down 15%, can go to 30%, all the way to 60%. HP is down for 10%, 20%, all the way to 40%. Now the rest of these here, as you can see, they are at least emblems for our characters. What this means is actually banning certain things as well. So when it comes down to this as well, shield and things like that will no longer be pretty much needed. Shield teammates are going to be, or at least shields in general, are reduced by 40%. If they are at the top, it would be 10%, 25%, 40%. When it comes down to this is for healing. Heals are cut down by 20%, 45%, till eventually 100%. So your heals pretty much deal nothing. And then now when we go ahead and go to these all the way here, these are more based on your actual teams. So if we're going ahead and going from at least left to right, Navi cooldown is what this is. It's going to take 6 turns. That's going to be the Navi cooldown. You can make it as well 2 turns, nothing too crazy, but that is the Navi cooldown for that, additional turns, making it harder to at least have your Navi. The next one from here is banning a buffer on your team, or either banning a debuffer on your team. Now with that out the way, we only have a couple more to go through, and these are going to directly affect you here, in which you really want to have 1 out of the 4. So you can see we have 1 of them actually checked here instead of having this other one checked. Now the reason I have this one checked is because I was recently using a nuke team and a blessed team, so I didn't want to at least down my blessed team and nuke team damage. I wanted to down the rest of them, the ones I'm not using. So for this first one, this is for fire, electricity, ice, and wind. This downs their whole entire damage by 80% if you're doing it on level 2, or by 40% on level 1. For the next one, this downs all of nuke, bless, curse, and side damage by 40%, going to an 80% if you guys wanted to do that. The next 2 here are for highlight, recovery, and term limited / survivability. For at least this one immediately, the first one is highlights are now decreased by 35%. The second one is now 60% of a highlight is now decreased for recovery rate. When it comes down to this one here, the team survival, you only have a certain amount of turns that you're able to at least survive for. So with the number 1 being you have 80 turns, number 2 being you have 60 turns, and number 3 being you have 40 turns. All of this do at your own discretion. Of course, all of these you will have to unlock by doing the other actual game mode here, which does unlock them all. But those are pretty much all the translations, at least in a rough translation for you guys. So surely do keep that in mind. I'll have the translations as well down below in the comment section. So surely do keep that in mind, and you can use that as a reference. But thank you guys for watching. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, stay sharp, and stay determined. Peace out.